Wonderful. So I'm going to say good morning. Welcome to our first ever virtual open house. My name is Beth. I'm the director of Pleasant Valley Camp, and I'm here with Matthew Jago,
Hello.
who's the director of Northwoods Camp. And we also have our Pleasant Valley CIT director, Jess Bonifato, with us. She is assisting us with our background and things like that today. And we want to welcome you all to, like I said, the first open house we've ever done virtually.
It's an exciting time to do this for sure. And yeah, I'm excited to try it. And I hope this information is good and valuable for everybody today. And hopefully we can get everybody at camp, and it's going to be a great summer. And I already can't wait. And it's so good. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we can
We're going to
begin.
start with a little PowerPoint for you. Go through some of the stuff that we know is our regular things that we go over when we do in-person open houses. And then we're going to save some time for you guys to ask questions at the end.
Yes. Great. So do you want to start there, Beth?
Sure. So as you can see with all these fun, happy faces, our goals at camp are oftentimes to create inspiration. We know we want to get out in nature. This summer, it's more than important than ever to have some connection, some in-person, face-to-face, no mask connection from time to time, and to get back to the true, friendship that always evolves coming to camp, new and returning friends. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a year like we've had, I think it's the perfect time to come to camp and really you just get back into nature, like you were saying there, Beth. And with free from all technology, we all know that everybody's got their phones these days, and we've all completed Netflix, and we've done all of the inside stuff that we could ever do, and we've created those bonds with our families. But it's time to make new friendships at camp and just explore the world, So I'm so excited, as I keep saying. But yeah, and there's no better place in camp to make friends. We've spoke about this before, haven't we, Beth, about the friendships that we've had at camp and how lifelong they can be.
Yeah, it's pretty wonderful to see new campers come in and immediately feel so embraced by their cabin mates, by the staff that are right there to greet them and are just as excited about them being there as they are about coming for the first time. So there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of anticipation, but we hope that by having this open house with you, we will diffuse some of the anxiety part of it and leave just that fun excitement, that fun anticipation part. And driving into our camp dirt road will feel like a win, not a nervous moment.
Yeah. Yeah, and the staff are ready as well. And yeah, I'm so excited. So hi. Yeah, so meet the directors. So yes, as Beth said, my name is Jago. My first name is Matthew, but I go by Jago at camp. It's from Cornwall in England, but I hail all the way from Nottingham, England, and that's where Robin Hood's from, Patwang. If anybody knows Robin Hood, I hope you do. Some campers don't, which is it's showing my age, I guess. Yeah, I'm currently a student. I'm doing a doctorate in education after I did completed my degree and master's in education, and I just love camp. I've been at camp for now. This would be my 18th summer, so pretty much half my life, which is kind of incredible. Half my life doing that, and yeah, I've worked my schedule in England and currently living in Scotland. Actually, I moved up to Edinburgh, which is a beautiful city. If anybody has seen it or been here, But yeah, I'd strongly recommend visiting Edinburgh for sure. Yeah, and I just keep going back every year, year after year, and I love the place and can't wait again for this summer.
You're currently living with a former Northwoods director.
I am, yeah. Then talk about lifelong friendships. We met at the same year in 2004, and yeah, that friendship just kept growing, and now we living together as housemates, and yeah, he was the director, and now I'm currently the director, and Yeah, it's great. It's great to
So good. Camp
build these
friends.
friendships.
So I started in 2016. I actually grew up in the town next door to the town Northwoods and Pleasant Valley is located in. Wolfboro, the oldest summer resort in America. Grew up there from the time I was 5 on. Moved to Boston, went to college, spent about 10 years in total in the Boston area. Got my degree in psychology with a minor in child development, and then got married, had a child, decided it was time to come home to the Lakes region, wanted to raise my child near more family, and we came back up here, and I was working at our local children's center as well as our local elementary school as a behavioral therapist. I had a couple friends who had worked for camp, specifically the day camp that Northwoods and Pleasant Valley had called Laughing Loon. And my son Jack had actually attended as a day camper, Laughing Loon. And the directors of the Laughing Loon camp, summer after summer, had kept saying my name to our current executive director. And so for a few years before 2016, she was trying to recruit me to come and be the director of our day camp. And I couldn't figure out how I was going to work for camp for a summer and have a winter job. But I finally just took the leap in 2016 and it worked out. I stayed year round.
Oh, it did. It was a great time. I remember meeting you for the first time, and yeah, it was a good year
I was
for
pretty
you to.
nervous, but
Yeah,
got a
and
lot of friends that first year.
yeah, together we do support each other. So we are two separate camps, Northwoods and Pleasant Valley, but we do share the same site. So we definitely help each other and support as all our staff do. And that's the beauty of having a brother sister camp on the same camp, on the same campsite. It's just a special place, so it's great.
We have
Yeah.
about 220 acres of property. And as you drive in, if you've never been, it's been a nice dirt road that you come up, true camp feeling, through the pine trees. And essentially, almost everything to the right of the road is Northwoods, and almost everything to the left of the road is Pleasant Valley. We have the 2 dining halls, 2 waterfronts, 2 cabin locations that sort of mirror each other in all the aspects. We each have our own archery and riflery range and things like that. So when you come in, we're going to have a pretty cool check-in process. It's going to be different than years past because we are, forging our way through this pandemic just as you are. And we're going to do our best to make that a smooth, easy transition. We just met last week to talk about how to logistically get everybody in on check-in days, as well as our Sandy Island, which is our family camp, are all checking in on Sundays this summer. So pretty exciting, but a lot to manage. We're going to send you out an email with specific details about check-in times, checkout times, how that system, there's going to be stations that you're going to drive right up through to go through all the process of getting your kid set and settled in with our nursing staff, meeting Jago and I and finding out your cabin assignments, and of course, doing our COVID testing and all that jazz.
Yeah, it's exciting time, like I say. So if any of you got any concerns about that, there will be an email which will be very detailed, and it will be able to give you all of that information. I'm sure you have like a million questions already about check-in and check-out, but that will come, and get excited for it because it's a good process, and it's a great time because you get to your cabin, you get to see your staff, you get to see me, which is always great. And yeah, we just have a good time and check in.
So in those emails before camp, we're going to share with you exactly how we're going to handle any health concerns. We're going to share with you all the information of what you need to prepare prior to check-in day. There's going to be a period of, minimal risk and, not a full isolation, but anything that you can do to minimize your child's exposure, especially after they've had the PCR test that we're requiring, because we want to make sure that everything goes smoothly from the time they have that test. Those negative results come back, you bring that with you We actually have a place for you to upload it. And then we see you that first day. We're going to do another COVID test upon arrival. All of these are PCR tests. They're the lower nostril, swirl, nothing nasal poking to the brain or anything crazy like that, like we had in the beginning. But we're working on our partnership and executing that plan with our medical team. Fortunately, we've had all last summer and all this winter to plan and prep for all these health concerns. And with the constant evolution of information from the CDC and our local and state representatives, we feel very, very prepared. We're fortunate that typically we have 2 nurses on camp, one specifically designated for each side, and they stay and they live here. They're available 24 hours a day. And then we have a sub nurse who comes in and does relief for those nurses to have days off. This summer, because of the pandemic, we're actually going to have 3 full-time nurses on camp, a sub nurse to cover their days off and their time off. And we also have a doctor managing our 3 camps.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Pretty fortunate to have an amazing medical team, and we have an amazing board who has been helping us prep and plan all winter long for this. Jago, tell us about our technology-free camp and how excited we are for that.
Always excited. Yeah, as I kind of mentioned at the start, we are a camp that has no phones. We are technology free. Some of our cabins don't have electricity, so it's great. It's back to nature. It's back to living with each other and being able to have that face-to-face communication. I know I often, even in my house, we're watching TV and we're still on our phones. And sometimes it just saddens me that you can walk around as well and sit at a bus stop or wherever, and you just see people on their phones. And I think it's a amazing time to get back to having those conversations, getting to know each other and really finding out like what we all enjoy. And that's what it's all about. And we keep mentioning friendships, but it makes camp, it makes everything that we are. And yeah, by sharing those experiences and being who the person that you want to be as well, and sharing with each other, I think it's magical when you say that, Beth.
I love the camp phrase when we used to say disconnect to connect. And a lot of times this is hard for campers when they first arrive. I have campers who will do the typical check-in process where in a normal year, non-pandemic, they'll walk up and they'll be standing in line to greet Jago and I, find out their cabin assignments, and they're clutched to their phones and the last minute messages and photos going out. And there's a lot of apprehension about giving that up. And we are addicted to these technologies. We all know it. We've seen the studies. But what we find is within hours, there's a piece that comes across and shoulders drop and eyes come up and real face contact happens. And you just start laughing and having a good time, and you forget about your Snapchat account and your Instagram and connecting with people that way, because your connections become so genuine and real.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? It's that genuine, that your genuine self, and that's what I love about it. And even for myself, it's great to get to camp and not be on our phone constantly. So it is great. Yeah.
So good things to do in preparing your child, or if you are a child on this call thinking about getting prepared for camp. One of the big things that Jago and I are always talking about is finding your voice. So finding your voice at camp means letting us know when you need something. That can be telling, cabin mate, talking to the counselors that are in your cabin. Each cabin has a village leader or a section head who oversees the cabins in that area. And then there's the assistant director, the directors. We have camper liaisons that are our support staff for campers. And there's just so many faces around. Like I said, starting in 2016 was my first summer, and I felt very, very out of place coming in a leadership position. So I understand how you feel coming in as somebody new. And the way I thrived was just to ask a ton of questions. When I was concerned about something, I told someone. When I had questions about where something was, I asked. If I felt like I needed to ask the question again, I did. And I gave myself permission to never be embarrassed about asking questions. And what happened was the more questions I asked, the more I found that there were counselors and staff and campers that were really excited about showing me the way, teaching me the songs, teaching me the phrases, teaching me how to get from here to there and what the routines were at camp, teaching me about what the next day was, if it was different than the day before. And it was pretty exciting to watch people feel so empowered and excited to share their knowledge of camp with me. So I encourage you as parents and as future campers to think about how you're going to use your voice at camp. There are important areas of that evolves to, like self-care. So if you're not feeling well, like I mentioned, our whole medical team, if you forgot to put on your sunscreen, if you forgot your bug spray, there are staff that are going to be helping you and assisting you throughout the day. We definitely have supplies everywhere around camp in those events, but we want you to think about using your voice in those moments when you need help, because caring for yourself independently without your parents or your guardians or whomever you're living with at home is a bit of an adjustment. And even for me as an adult, it was a bit of an adjustment, but we're all here to support.
Yeah, I feel like that's Northwoods and Pleasant Valley for sure. We do build that independence and making sure that campers feel like they can be independent and do their own thing, but we do have that support system which allows for that. So yes, we all need a little help and support always. So I do all the time. But it's nice to be in that environment where you can build on that independence in a supportive kind of manner. And it is, you will see later and on all of that. So it's great.
So good. Day in the life of cabins and pods and schedules, Jago. We have so much fun things to talk about. So as you see in these photos, here's a couple examples of the fronts of cabins. The one with the porch in the middle, white trim on the windows is Lyra. That's right in the middle of Pleasant Valley. The picture with the green door is Blackfoot, and that's right in the junior section.
Yeah.
The picture to the left is inside Lyra, the bunks, and that's a pretty standard looking cabin. Bunk beds for campers, single beds for staff members, pretty open concept. We've brightened them up, cleaned all the screens off, got all the dust and the pollen out, and we're ready for you guys to come in. You're gonna see that it's pretty light the most of the day. When you're in your cabin, you're not gonna necessarily need light because it's gonna be the time when you're sleeping, and pretty much that's it. With the exception of a rainy day or a rest hour, you're going to be outdoors, which is pretty exciting. And there's lots of photos there that you can see of all of our outdoor activities.
Yeah, lots of activities you can see there. My favorite activity is the ropes course, which is the catwalk there. You can see somebody walking across, which leads to the zip line, which is one of my favorite activities. And then the beautiful lake, as you can see, and with kayaking. This is Northwoods Beach, as you can see. And then that is me leading a song in our dining hall, the Penguin song, which is my favorite song. And I love it. And I can't wait for you all to hear it or get told what it's all about when they come home. And an archery,
if we could sing on Zoom and do it effectively, we would. But we have learned in the past year and a half that we cannot sing effectively on Zoom. So we will not torture you with that. So because we're still in the midst of a pandemic, we are actually podding our cabins. So everybody who's in your cabin is going to be the friends that you are going to be traveling around camp in a preset schedule this year. Typically, we have the option on day 2, meaning Sunday you check in, and then Monday would be day 2, where we do a rotation of electing activities. This year, Jago, myself, and some of the other year-round team spent many, many months planning and prepping how to do all of our activities in the safest way possible. And the reason that we chose to pod is not just because our governor said that's the best way to do things, but it allows us to have time in a safe group without wearing masks. And our whole goal was to normalize campers' experiences, move away from the pandemic, and try to bring back some of the regular routines that were in their lives beforehand. So no masks, not having to worry about close contact, being able to hug and laugh and high five and things like that with fellow campers. So we've set a schedule which allows everybody to participate in every activity that we have going at camp this summer. So in a typical cabin, you're going to have an A day and a B day. Each day has 8 activities, which rotate from busy to relaxing. They start after breakfast and they end with one period after dinner. And then you'll go through each of those specific activity sections. Like Jago said, like ropes is on there. You would have ropes 6 times in a 2-week session. You would go to archery 6 times in a 2-week session. You would have swim lessons 6 times, et cetera, et cetera. But this allowed us to not eliminate any activities from returning campers' enthusiasm of coming back and signing up for specific things. But it also allowed us to extend the opportunity for everybody to try new things that, you know, even returning campers have never done before. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is a fantastic opportunity to do everything at camp, which sometimes was not the case. We had more of a you select what you would like to do and build on that. But this way you can really do everything. And I know some stories where maybe it's something that you don't typically want to do at the start. The waterfront director of my first couple of years, he always tells the story of he was so against sailing. He was like, I do not want to sail. It's not my cup of tea. It's not something that I enjoy. And then he got placed in it randomly. So he was a little bit upset, but once he started doing it, he was like, this is the best activity ever. Like, and he ended up being the sailing head and running sailing, and eventually fell in love with it that much that he became the waterfront director for about 4 to 5 years, if I remember rightly. And it just shows you that maybe sometimes it might not be the thing that you're most excited for, but it could end up being that way, and that's what it's great. But alternatively too, we are looking at within these activities to build in some choice so that you can decide as a group or as the individual to select some stuff within that activity so that you get that a little bit of choice too. And if it's something that you're not particularly fond of, but you could do something else within that area. And that's what we're looking at doing this summer. And yeah, I'm excited for it because you really get to bond with the people in your cabin. You get to build those super strong relationships, and the counselors that are running these activities will be able to know each individual as they show up, and your camp counselor will also know, like, oh, I know he's a little bit weary of this particular aspect of this activity, so I can put some extra time in here and we can celebrate that and maybe give more support. So it really is an exciting time this year, even though it's a little bit different and we've changed up a little bit. But I think the opportunity to do what we're doing this summer, I think is going to be even better. I think we're going to be using some of this stuff going forward because it's exciting, and I'm so excited to see it. I can't wait. I
Me
really
too.
can't.
Me too. And when we ran all this by our staff and we asked them to help us, you know, really break it down and share with us some of the concerns or questions they had, maybe things that we'd forgotten about, we got a lot of feedback of enthusiasm. So every cabin pod is going to have a staff member traveling with them, meaning campers, that camper pod will never be alone. So you all travel together. And the staff were so excited about being part of that group and getting to go through the schedule of the day and having the ability to go up to archery and actually shoot some arrows with their cabin, get in the water during swim lessons and be doing the swim activities with the campers. So it was a pretty neat experience to be able to offer that opportunity to our staff as well. Our meals are still going to run the same, although we're gonna that dining hall photo there. It's a pretty crowded dining hall you got, Jago.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Pleasant Valley. So what we've created is 3 dining hall areas per camp. So Jago and I both have an inside dining hall. He's going to have that area as one section. Then he's going to have 2 tents that are weatherproofed outside of his dining hall. So we can thin that crowd. Cabins can sit by in their pods, have pre-assigned table sections, make sure that we're 6 feet apart, be able to feel very comfortable open air. Pleasant Valley is going to have the same thing with our dining hall. Below our dining hall used to be what we call fireside, which is like a rec area. We're transforming that into our second dining hall location and then having a tent immediately outside from that. We have a pretty cool maintenance team that has come up with a concept of creating, they're taking old canoes and they're constructing hand washing sinks in these old canoes. So the counselor can go on up to the canoe with their campers on either side, turn on the spigot, the water comes out. We have a whole irrigation system plumbed into it. And it allows, 10, 12 campers to wash their hands at the same time, which is pretty phenomenal. So neat hand washing system, very camp-like, outdoors. We're excited about that. Safety precautions set in place for dining areas. Normally in meals, we, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 8, 12, 6, pretty much.
Pretty much.
We normally have a salad bar at every meal. So that salad bar in the breakfast time would have yogurt and granola and fruits and things like that. Lunchtime is, typical salads, side dishes, dinner, the same thing. We're going to avoid that for health and safety reasons. So it's not that we won't have those alternative options, but what they're going to do is they're going to be on your tables. Staff are going to be the ones who are getting up and moving about the dining hall, whereas normally a camper would be able to leave the table, go to the salad bar or any buffet that we have set up. But by minimizing the campers' movement around, we can increase the safety, cross exposure, whatnot, and have our staff be the ones that are assisting. We have an amazing CIT team, our counselors in training, and they're going to help facilitate dining hall etiquette, dining hall protocols, and they're also going to introduce our brand new sustainability and composting program that is going into effect this summer. So that'll be a pretty exciting area for our campers to be a part of.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Campers get to sit back and let the staff come and get their food and stuff like that. It's going to be great for them. Our staff are going to love it.
We're still going to sing lots and lots in the dining hall, I promise. If you didn't know that, we sing a lot in the dining hall.
We do. It's a great time, for sure. Awesome. Let's move on.
So we've mentioned our staff. They're a pretty phenomenal group. I would say the one thing that stands out most to me about our staff, Jago, is that most of them have been campers themselves. It's a pretty unique bunch.
Yeah, they are. And like you say, I mean, I was a staff member at 18 and I continued on to, this is my, like I say, it's 18 years. But all our staff, yeah, they've been campers themselves, so they know people's experiences they go through when it comes to homesickness. Some of them were homesick when they were younger, so they know exactly how to deal with all of these different scenarios that come up. And we train as well during our week beforehand, prior, which is I think we're talking about that a little bit later on. But yeah, they're the best. I don't know how to sell them anymore because yeah, they've been at camp for 8, 9 years, some of them even more. Like Emmeline in the picture there, she's going on to what is it, 14 years, 15 years?
Yeah. Jess, how long have you been at camp?
This will be my 8th
summer. Yeah. So you started when you were 12, right?
Yeah, that's 12.
That's pretty cool. So we have some campers who start at 8 years old and some who come in at 12, and it's pretty neat to watch our staff talk to campers about their personal experience living in cabins and being the counselor in a cabin that they were in as a camper and talking about the experiences that they had. It affords us a nice opportunity to have a real understanding of what it's like to be a camper, especially a new camper. Um, and that lends to a really unique, compassionate side, I think, in our staff, which is wonderful. Like Jago said, we do an incredible staff training program, which we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But this year they get to spend 10 days with us prior to your arrival for session 1. And we do a lot of training. We do training on homesickness. We do training on safety procedures. We do training on how to diffuse disagreements in a cabin. We do training on how to get along with your co-counselors and how to communicate your needs just amongst yourself. So it's a pretty empowering experience. We have a lot of staff who go on to, the real world and life, and they oftentimes report back to us that their first job felt a lot easier than other people that they were starting out with, because they had these experiences of learning communication skills, learning conflict resolution, and how to lead and how to improvise, and how to handle situations when there's a lot going on at once. And we really set people up for success in the future. And it shows, because we have an incredible alumni team that comes back year after year to help us open camp and work weekends and participate during the year in other events. So
yeah, and you mentioned
proud of our staff.
You mentioned there, Beth, of a CIT earlier, and how our campers go on to become staff through these leadership programs. So they've not just got the single week prior to the refresh, I guess, for each summer, but they've 15, they go through a leadership program in the LITs and building leadership skills, and then eventually go into be CITs, where they're starting to build on those counselor skills at 16, and then become an assistant counselor at 17, learning from head counselors as they go. So they've been really prepped. Most of our staff, like you say, have built their skills over time and really become strong leaders. And that's why I love it. It's just developing that family type of style of looking after yourselves. And when I speak to all my staff during interviews, like, I want to give back. I want to make sure that campers have that experience that I did, and they fall in love with it, and as we all do. And that's what I love about Northwoods and Pleasant Valley. Yeah.
It's definitely the most common response that Jago and I get in staff interviews is, I want to be the counselor that I had when I was 8, 9 years old, or the summer that I struggled in my 4th summer back and I just had a tough year. I want to be the counselor that supports.
That positive role model. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. So how to prepare? Oh my goodness, we did talk a little bit about this. Obviously, finding your voice, big part of camp. Having confidence to speak up when you have an issue, when you have a concern, when you need to relay messages to somebody. Those are important things. Remember, you always have a nurse team. Nurses are just like when you go to your family physician. They're the ones that are going to take care of you in ways that your counselors can't. So you always can reach out to a nurse and have a conversation if it's difficult, and tend to also medical needs. But they're a great support system as well. As we always hint, they sometimes give out ice pops when you visit them. So there are advantages to seeing the nurses. But if you go on our website, we have www.bostonYcamps.org. We have a safety protocols COVID preparedness link at the top. And you'll find in that link the Safe and Fun at Camp guidebook. And like I said, we're going to share with you lots of information via email of each step that you need to take to be prepared, and about check-in day, and then how the communication is going to work after you drop your camper off to the day you get to come and pick them up again. key element, can't stress it enough, is to get your camper paperwork done. It is the middle of May now. I can't even believe that we finally, it feels like months and months of just begging for this time to finally come, and now we're here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's almost happening. So please log into your CampMinder camper account. That's a mouthful. And make sure that you're completing your paperwork. If you have any questions, we have a great team in the office ready to support you, help you upload documents, help you answer questions about how to download or access your account, things like that. But it is imperative that before you arrive at camp, you have been signed off by the staff team, the year-round office staff team, and our nurses have given you the thumbs up to come to camp, because families that have not completed and been checked off with their camper paperwork will not be allowed to arrive at camp. So that's a biggie. We can talk a little bit about the emergency plan if you guys want. I don't want to be Debbie Downer here. We have our fingers crossed that everybody follows all the safety protocols and minimizes their risks prior to coming to camp. But we do know that there were camps that opened last summer. There were camps that had positive cases of COVID and still successfully ran. Like I said, we have been planning and prepping with an incredible medical team all winter long to have our protocols in place with support of the CDC and the state and our nurse team. So we know that we feel pretty confident in the event that something happens. You will be notified, you will be informed, your camper will be taken care of, whether they're the case or they're somebody that's possibly had an exposure. But the essentials is that we need you to have an emergency contact or two that can pick up in the event that you are unable to pick up your camper. So the expectation this summer is a little different than years past. We have a 5 to 8 hour window from the time we notify you to the time we hope you are here to pick up your camper in the event that they test positive with COVID. That's kind of high expectation, but if you look at it from the perspective of having almost 400 plus people on site, we want to make sure that we are minimizing any other risks, and keeping campers with COVID on site is not minimizing that risk. So low risk behavior prior to, we're going to send you an app so that you can do 7-day health screening, very similar to everything that you've been dealing with in the real world. When you walk into a hospital and somebody takes your temp and they say, answer these questions. Have you been out of the state, country? Have you had a fever? Have you been exposed to anybody that you know that's had COVID? Do you have a scratchy throat? All those questions. We're going to ask those of you in the app. It's going to be pretty simple. We need you to be as honest as possible. And one key element that has just come up recently with the ability to have people ages 12 up be vaccinated is to make sure you are having that second dose vaccination early enough prior to arrival, so that if there are side effects from that second dose, those are not impacting your screening. So the 7-day screening that you're doing on the app, if you have your second dose and you have a mild temp, you're going to report that, but we want to make sure that if you can avoid having those overlap, that would be best. All protocols are still in place for staff or campers that are vaccinated. So for example, anybody that's vaccinated, is whether they're staff or a camper, are still going to have a PCR test prior to coming to camp. They're still going to be tested on day 1, and they'll be still tested on day 5 to 7 is the second one. Our staff is going to still go through a rotation of testing. The only exception to somebody that has been fully vaccinated is that in the event that there is an exposure, they don't have to isolate. So if Jess and I had a cabin of 10 campers and I'm vaccinated, or let's say she's vaccinated and I'm not vaccinated, and by the way, we are not making it a mandate that our staff or campers are vaccinated, So in the event of that scenario, Jess is vaccinated counselor, I'm the non-vaccinated counselor. We have 10 campers in our cabin and one of them tests positive for COVID. We're going to zip that camper right up to the beautiful little area that the nurses are going to care for them until their parent, guardian / emergency contact can pick them up. And the rest of that cabin, depending on the scenario of whether they're vaccinated or not, can continue on with activities. So in Jess's case, because she's fully vaccinated, she does not have to isolate. In my case, I'm not fully vaccinated, hypothetically. I would have to go into a 10-day isolation. So that's the only difference. We're still going to wear our masks, whether we're vaccinated or not. We're still going to make sure that we're following all physical distancing and safety protocols in terms of washing our hands, daily temperature checks, symptom reporting, etc. That's a mouthful. I know that's a lot to take. Sorry.
And I'm sure, like I say, we will have all of this information via emails and all across our website. So if you've missed something or have a little bit more concerns, we're always an email away, or yeah, just pop a question to us and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Yeah, but how else can we prepare for camp? We have a packing list on our website, which tells you all the wonderful stuff to bring with you and what not to bring. And we could go through some of that. It's basically any like t-shirts, shorts, good footwear. It does get cold during the evening times and mornings later on in the summer, but it's always wise to just bring something warm, as well as all the summer gear that you would typically want to bring, and nothing too expensive, because it's camp. We're gonna be in the woods and getting dirty and having fun. So of course we don't want to wreck anything that you want. I would definitely suggest, it's a big advice from me, is to label all of your campers items. It's kind of, you try and keep hold of your stuff, but when you're that excited and you've brought a sweater to the dining hall and then you run off because you really want to get to that archery as quick as possible, you may end up forgetting that. And as much as we do a fantastic job of getting all of this stuff back to you, having that name is key to getting it back. Wouldn't you say that, Beth?
Yeah, I've seen in my summers, the improvement of parents labeling clothing has increased so dramatically that our donation, and let me tell you, it is a massive donation of camper clothing to our local charitable organizations, has decreased because it's so much easier to get a sweatshirt, like you said, back to a camper if their name is in the tag.
Yeah.
So packing list items this summer, we do need you to pack masks. You can pack cloth masks or you can pack daily disposable masks. We will also have daily disposable masks on site. And that's really the only thing that's super different being in the pandemic. We recommend having a face cloth mask for every day if that's the choice that you're going to wear. Bless you, Jess. And we do know that this summer we need you to pack enough items in your child's packing to cover the full 2 weeks that they're there. So there will not be a laundry in the break of a 2-week session like we have done in the past this particular summer. So 2 weeks of items. We're also going to email you this list. It's going to be very specific to this summer. So no need to like rush onto the website. We're going to send you all this information.
Yeah, great. Shall we go into the communication with campers while they're at camp?
So good. So when I went to camp, Jago, my mom used to make me this little envelope, I think, of like pre-addressed, pre-stamped envelopes. You have to write to your grandmother because she helped pay for camp. You have to write to your father and myself, my mother would say. You should probably send a little something to your aunt and uncle because everybody's so excited to hear from you. Then I distinctly remember writing letters in rest hour and slipping them in the envelope and then taking them to the location where I was taught to drop them. So mail went out. Very exciting to get snail mail when I was a camper, and it's still true today. So sending your child mail is a fantastic thing. We do not allow packages. The only thing we allow is a standard flat size envelope. So if you wanted to mail a comic book or, you know, one of the mandala coloring or something like that, that size item is allowed to come through. Anything else, not allowed for packages. They'll be saved and you'll be given them back on your pickup day. We had to minimize the amount of snacks and things that were being shipped to camp because we have a lot of critters and 220 acres of camp property, and there is nothing more exciting than having a chipmunk in your cabin. So we need to avoid that as much as possible. Please don't send anything like that. I do often in open house tours get asked what happens if my child, I get home from dropping them off and there are their sneakers right there, you know, in the entryway of our house and we forgot. You are welcome to mail us items like that. What we suggest you do is write Director Beth on it or Director Jago on the package. That allows us to open up the package for your camper. Be assured that it's just the sneakers that you're sending and not a cell phone or a box of cookies or candy and things like that. And we will make sure to pass on those items. You can always call us too, and we'll make sure that you have the right address to get those items to us. So packages are limited, to say the least. What's the other way you can communicate with your campers, Jago?
Yeah, so as well as the snail mail, which everybody loves, we have a company that we go through, we're partners with, called Bunk One. So again, this information will be emailed to you about directions of how to do it. But this is kind of like an email system that gets printed out, and then we share those. Like if you send an email, we'll print out that page, and then it gets folded up so it's concealed, and then they'll be passed out during the meal or just after the meal to your camper, and you'll be able to communicate that way. It's great with this Bunk One. You can send some crosswords sometimes. There's options to send a picture and all that great stuff that if you want to share and communicate as well. We're doing the replies still, Beth?
We are. So
yes, so there's an option to also purchase replies. So with your email that would go to directly to your camper would be a blank piece of paper with a barcode on it. Now this is for them to write back, and then we put it in the dining hall somewhere where they'll put this blank piece of paper that they've wrote on, and then the barcode will scan, and then it will email you directly back. So it's a great way of communicating. It's quicker than snail mail, so it's a good way of keeping in touch and hearing about the great things that the campers are doing. Yeah,
it's a pretty cool system, and we'll send you a sheet or hand you a sheet at check-in day with the login information. The system is free for you as a parent of that particular session, is locked just to the parents of that session to be able to access. So when you log in, you're going to be able to see all the photos that our two photographers have uploaded that day. We don't make any guarantees about how many photos or if your child will be in the photos, but our camp photographers do candids throughout the day, all over camp. They get their steps in. Let me tell you, I'd love to be checking their iPhone watches, or you know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, they walk a lot around camp. So, and they also manage those Bunk Ones. So those mailing systems, they're the ones that are going to scan that through. And with that barcode, like Jago said, it zips right to your personal email. It's a really neat system. They also have the ability to order little photo books and items off of there that you can create gift items and things like that. So neat system. We just like this photo because this parent is talking about how her I'll read it to you. Erica thoroughly enjoyed her time at PBC. She was so excited to tell me about the friends she made. She loved riding the horse. I think his name was Butterscotch. She wants to go to the rifle range to practice her newfound skills, Most importantly, she absolutely loved the food. Her first words to me were, "Can you sign me up again for next year?" I would definitely say she came back from PVC very confident in her own abilities. Um, I love nothing more, Jago, than when parents email me after a session or at the end of the summer to tell me what their experiences was with their camper after they returned home.
Yep.
It's always a milestone and a very neat experience for, like we started out talking about, having that independence of being away from your family, and figuring out your own style and your grit and your voice and your maintenance of your own life without somebody telling you to, take a shower and things like that. Yes, we do make them take showers. We promise you they will be cared for. But it's very different to do it independently, as a camper. So it's exciting when campers come home and report back all the newfound abilities and independence that they've achieved.
It is. It's the reason I keep coming back. And I know it's the reason you keep working as well, Beth, is because we get that joy of, wow, look at what, like, the skills that they've learned and how they've developed. And I get emails like, yeah, my son's making his bed now, which he's never done in the past, or he's helped set the table. I'm like, yep, that's it. It's like growing those independence. There's like so many manners, and it's wonderful. And like we see here from Erica, building on those new skills as well, finding new passions. And that's what we're all about. We're all about friendship, being who you want to be, having that independence to thrive and just find out who you are, and with a supportive network around you, and finding passions. And that's what I love. We are. Well, that's what we do best, and that's what I love about Northwoods and Pleasant Valley, for sure. It keeps me coming back every year, and that's why I keep doing
Absolutely.
it. Great.
So, should we ask some questions? Oh, we got our focusing on belonging. I'll do this really quickly because we're going way over on time. Gosh, we love to talk about camp. Um, just a little bit more about our staff training. We know that this year has been a rough one on everybody, not just with the pandemic, but with all the aspects of things that have been going on in our country and in the world. So we have this amazing educator coming, Ron Jones, and he's going to do a 2-day, 2-night training session with our staff. And his focus is on diversity, social justice. He runs this amazing theater production, and we're so excited to be able to have him come and interact and train and educate our staff on how to communicate better, how to evolve with inclusion, and to just be able to talk about some of the life issues that have been going on in the last year in ways that oftentimes are hard, but to facilitate those conversations even in the youngest cabins when they come up, and to teach our campers how to hold space and listen to one another and engage in positive ways, so that everybody can feel heard and seen. And we're really excited about that. We actually are creating a 4-year study of all of our campers, to talk about inclusion and diversity and how everybody feels, including our staff. We have this amazing partnership with Clark University, as well as the METCO program in the Boston area. And we feel very privileged to have these relationships to help us grow in ways that we're always striving to grow, and to make our camps a place that offers, the best of the best in an environment that's really tough outside. And our world is struggling right now. So we want to be a safe place that everybody feels like they can grow and thrive. That's the very short version of that, Jago, since we're running out of time.
Great. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, so we want to open up the floor for questions. If you feel comfortable coming off of mute and talking directly to us, please feel free. If you would like to throw a question in the chat, we can absolutely do it that way as well. But we invite you to ask some questions. Let us know what you're excited about. It's your time now. Anybody brave?
Maybe they're typing.
Oh, what about campers that signed up for extras like water skiing? Oh, that's a great one. Yes, thank you. If anybody needs to hop off, we do want to respect your time. We had said 10 to 11, and we'll continue to record. I'm going to send this out to everybody so you can rewatch if you need to dip out. I know you guys have very busy lives. Water skiing, horseback riding. You are correct. That's the one thing I missed, or one of probably many things I've missed. Anytime our campers are going through their regular schedule, they're going to have an opportunity to dip out to those activities that are pre-assigned, like horseback riding and water skiing. So they might have a day where they miss ball games on the upper ball field because they're going to their horseback riding lessons, or while their pod is participating in canoe kayak or windsurfing, sailing, they might be participating in their water ski lessons. So that's how it'll work for that group. There you go. What else do we have here?
What do we have?
Oh, sunscreen, bug spray, ticks. Okay, so tick's a big one. We, like I said, 220 acres. We don't have a plethora of chickens to eat ticks. I don't know if you guys know that. That's a New England thing. All my friends have chickens to minimize their tick population in their yards. I would love to have chickens on camp, but we do not. So in that event, we have our staff trained to identify ticks, to have our campers look and do regular tick checks throughout the day. We encourage you to pack any type of bug spray that you feel comfortable for your child to be wearing, knowing that our environment is a host to regular mosquitoes and ticks. Our nurse staff team, in the event that a tick is on your camper, will remove it. They will notify you via email. They're going to circle the space that the tick bite has happened, and they're going to monitor it for the duration to make sure that there isn't any results from that tick bite. We can't prevent Lyme disease. We can't prevent ticks from happening in the sense that, you know, we don't do a full treatment of our camp property. We have in the past done a treatment of our fields in with environmentally friendly, child friendly, and animal friendly sprays, but the most effective way is for campers to use their bug spray and do regular tick checks.
Yeah, and our counselors are doing it all the time. Every time we walk up a trail, they'll stay at the end of it. Okay, tick check, let's go. So when we're constantly doing that, you'll hear that if you're walking around camp, tick check from all the counselors. So we are constantly on this, and the staff know, and they've been through this. So like we said before, so yeah, we do our best and to help out.
And in the event that we haven't put on a bug spray and we get to the upper ball field and we're far away from our cabin, we always have sprays in every location at camp, including sunscreen. So there are constant reminders of when and, you know, oftentimes at the waterfront to reapply sunscreen. But that's also one of those areas where empower your camper to know that it is their self-care. It's their self-care, just as we want them to shower and use products like deodorant and things like that, express any needs they have to our nursing staff in the event that something hygienically comes up. We also want them to be empowered to be responsible for their bug spray and sunscreen. We do know that you're not always going to remember it, so that's what our staff is there for. When you have 2 to 3 counselors in a cabin, they're going to remind you because they're going to be doing it themselves.
Yeah, and same with your cabin mates. They'll also have multiple bottles, and they'll all be helping each other putting it on. So it's like a little community that help each other out along the way. But yeah, our staff will help.
We recommend that you pack, and that's going to be part of your packing list, is a bug spray and a sunscreen. You can use a spray. There isn't any rule about the aerosol type for either bug spray or sunscreen. We just make sure that our campers are often trained with their counselors that first day to do that stuff outside, to know what downwind is, to make sure that you're not blowing it right back into your cabin, et cetera, et cetera. Our nursing team is part of their first day protocols where they spend a little bit of time meeting the nurses, and nurses will talk about tick checks and things like that. So directions and times for drop off and specific ideas for how that drop off is going to work is all going to come in an email to you. We do know that it's going to be Sunday. Our standard time in the past is 1 to 3 o'clock, but we're actually going to send you some specific timings based on your camper's age. If you have multi-camp campers and multi-age campers, there's going to be a default for that as well. So you'll get all of that. There is no need to bring hiking boots specifically. That is not a necessity. You just need a good couple pair of sneakers, trainers. I think it's important to think about bringing maybe the junky pair of sneakers that your kid doesn't wear as much anymore, because on the day that it rains and they're jumping in puddles and having a good time and the regular set of sneakers gets wet, you're going to want to have the alternate pair for later in the afternoon or the next day when their first pair are not fully dry.
Yeah, 100%.
They don't have to be fancy. Nothing
No.
needs to be fancy. They just need to have a good solid couple pair of closed-toed shoes. Our trails are like typical hiking trails. You're going to have roots, you're going to have vines, you're going to have rocks and things that they're jumping off of and around.
Puddles and mud as well. So
yeah, puddles and mud. Laundry service. Nope. 2 weeks of camp. You need to be able to provide for your campers to be sufficiently packed for 2 full weeks of camp. If they're staying multiple sessions, then we are going to accommodate laundry service for a multi-session.
Yeah, and that's this year. Like you said, you may have read that we did it and we used to do this. It was just this year, with it being a COVID year and the pandemic, we're just trying to limit that mix and cross of yeah, all of that. So yeah, this year 2 weeks as worth.
Yeah,
but,
and in the
it doesn't
event
have to
that
be
something
fancy.
happens, you know, if your favorite shirt gets spaghetti spilled sauce on it, and you know it's a real tearjerker. It's not like we can't do the one-off laundry situation, but a true full cabin laundry won't happen unless you're staying multiple sessions.
Yeah, and we do have that laundry as well if there's accidents that happen during evenings or during the day as well. So you don't have to worry about any of that. That will be done and made sure that it's done really well. And they'll have no idea that we've helped them out. It'll be great. So quick.
Really good with that. Do campers come home at the end of each week? Nope. A 2-week session is a 2-week session. You're going to drop off on a Sunday and you're going to come back for your camper on the second Saturday. So it's, you know, technically 13 days, which is how, or 14, but we get to that 6 times in a program area because we have your kids fully for 12 full days. But they start on a Sunday night and they go home on the second Saturday.
Yeah.
Anybody else? You're welcome. Well, there isn't a requirement for our staff to be vaccinated because New Hampshire is a non-mandate vaccine state. And the YMCA of Greater Boston is also a company that is non-mandating in vaccinations. So that is why we are not requiring our staff to be vaccinated. I will share with you that because the CDC and the governor had got on top of this so quickly that we were allowed to send documents to all of our contracted staff early on to show verification that they were essential workers in the level when teachers were able to start doing their vaccinations. So our camp staff got a big jump. Even our 17-year-olds got a big jump on getting into the line of signing up for vaccinations. So we have quite a pool of people that are vaccinated. Gaiters are not masks in camp terms. We love the gaiters. We love the idea, but we are not accepting those as a mask. That is a great question. Thank you. Are there Sasquatch type creatures in the area? Wow. That's an interesting question. I think we need to do some research on that, Jago.
I think that we do. Yeah.
Have you heard of any Sasquatch type creatures in the area?
I've not heard of any, but we are investigating, and always just to make sure, we've got to put that feelers to the ground and just check out the area.
Definitely,
Mm.
absolutely. I mean, we are the lakes region. We got many mountains and many lakes, so there's definitely places for those Sasquatch type creatures to be hiding. Can you explain the worst case scenario of 10-day isolation, what that means for a camper? Right at this moment, what it means for a camper is heading home. But we have not finalized the decision on whether that isolation means that cabin goes home if they're not vaccinated. So what would it mean for if we don't have to send that cabin pod home in the event of an exposure? It just means that we're going to take their cabin table out of the dining hall location that they're in. We're going to provide a more distanced special dining location for all of their meals. But essentially, their traveling around campus pretty independent of other campers. So there wouldn't be a whole lot of difference. Camper here is looking forward to the zip line. Oh, this is your area, Jago. And she wants to know if they'll be able to jump in the lake and have free swim. She also wants to know if you can swim. Do you have to take swim lessons? Jago, you start with a zip line.
Zipline is the best. I mean, it's actually called Jago Zipline, so because I helped with the program up there for so many years, so it is a big favorite of mine. It's a good ride. I love it. I do it every year. Can't wait to go back and do it. Yeah, it's fun. The high ropes is one of the best areas. I absolutely love it. We have a giant swing as well. So you get pulled up by all the campers and you come up and then you release yourself and whoo, swing. It's a great ride. Everybody should do it. Everybody should do everybody here, come up to camp.
And you have a rock climbing wall too.
Yeah, we
climbing
do. Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
Anyways, we will have time for free swim. We have water mats, which are super cool. I don't know if you've ever seen a water mat. If you haven't, go Google them. So the time for free swim and play in the water is there. Everybody will have a swim lesson, but remember, you're at swim lessons for one period over your 2 weeks, which means 6 swim lessons. It will be in the pods, yes, and there will be a variation of obviously swim lessons in each pod cabin dynamic. Everybody will have different abilities, and so our swim instructors are going to be down at the waterfront ready to assist with the varying levels in that pod. So if you have 10 campers down having a swim lesson, you might have 2 that are advanced, you might have 2 that have never been in the water before, and a mix in between. We know that we can provide swim lessons to have everybody leave each lesson with some sort of advancement in their skills and their understanding. And our whole objective is just to get you in the water, teach you all the safety that it's about, make sure everybody's having a good time. We play a lot of games in our swim lessons. It's pretty incredible how games foster skill.
Yep, absolutely. It's a beautiful lake. It's a great time to get involved. And if you're a really good swimmer, it's always nice for you to help other campers in your pod, in your cabin, that might not be as strong. So it's a good time for you to help with those skills for other people, and really help them out too. So that's why I love it. And yeah, it's 6 times, and it's fun, and there's games, and it's fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. So any paperwork questions that are a struggle, you can reach out to our camp office. I'm going to put the phone number and I'm going to put our email. And we have Sarah Healy is managing all of our camper paperwork. So if you email campingservices@ymcaboston.org, it might be that you have mailed these documents to camp, the question that I just read, and they just have yet to be scanned and uploaded into the system for you. Likely they're there. We just started really getting a click going on getting camper paperwork in, and we know that there's a lot to be done, but you can always reach out to Sarah Healy through that camping services at ymcaboston.org, or you can call 603-569-2725 and speak to somebody Monday through Friday who can help you with that. We know camper paperwork is a lot in the beginning. We try to make it as easy as possible, but the American Camping Association has a lot of details that we need to check off each year. Will there be overnight trips to Pine Island? So unfortunately this summer, those won't be happening like they traditionally happen for campers in their cabins, or a village going, or a couple cabins going out to Pine Island. We use Cow Island, we use Sandy Island. We will be offering some trips to those experiences for campers that are staying for our holdovers. So if you're staying for more than one session, the time in between is called holdover, and we're hoping to do some overnights out there. But unfortunately, the back and forth with the logistics of how we've set up our program would really minimize and cut into that experience. So we don't have the traditional overnight trips happening this summer.
But we are going to be putting in that experience, so fire building and eating over a fire and marshmallows and all of that type of stuff, s'mores. We're going to be including that into some of the programs that we're running. You say swimming 1 time a day for all pods, so it's an A day, B day, so it'll be every other day is a swimming lessons now. Some knowledge there. Are your alumni knowing Pine Island and the way the structures worked?
Yeah, absolutely. Unique activities planned for teenagers at camp. So the wonderful part about the way our schedule is set, our activities are going to run, like I said, right after breakfast to lunch, from lunch to dinner, and one more period after dinner from 7 to 8 o'clock at night. At 8 o'clock at night, there's this beautiful window of time where, depending on what's going on that evening, depending on how that cabin pod is feeling, depending on what's going on in that village or section, those counselors can make decisions about what they're doing after that last activity period. So for teenagers, this is a beautiful opportunity to, like Jaco said, have a village or section campfire, be able to hang out and do things that teenagers like to do that maybe an 8-year-old doesn't like to do. The last activities ends at 7:50, which gives a transition time of 10 minutes to get back down to your cabin and choose what's happening next. So we know that we want to incorporate some of our traditional evening activities like skit campfires and talent shows and scavenger hunts, and but we also want to offer some time just to bond, and that's the most asked thing from our teenagers at camp. So to be able to put that window of time in is pretty fantastic. So lights out, as we continue on in that conversation, is really good. Lights out varies depending on camper age. So there might be a night where an 8-year-old cabin, after they finish that last activity, get down to their cabin at 8 o'clock, they might decide that it's a shower evening. They have a rotation of shower, and then do their dive and have some quiet activities and be in bed with lights out by 9 o'clock. Other campers in different age groups might be up until 10 o'clock, 10:30. It really varies from night to night. We just try to be very mindful of making sure that when we know that we've had an exhausting day, it's been a lot of movement, it's been 90 degrees at camp all day, that we're doing our due diligence of staying hydrated and going to bed a little earlier that night, but it varies every night. 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Yep.
Could you explain again about the pod interactions for like talent shows, campfires? Sure. So Jago and I obviously are going to be in different pods. When we interact with one another, if we had cabins respectively, we could have our pods hang out together. And I say this specifically about the fact that he's on Northwoods Camp and I'm on Pleasant Valley Camp. But say we both had trail section, Midler Village camper age groups, and we decide that we wanted to do some sort of skit campfire or a talent show, we absolutely could hang out together and we could have our pods interact. What we would do is we would follow the physical distancing. and expectations of, hand washing and sanitizing when we're within 6 feet of one another. So if we're going to get together and we're going to play a game of cards and we're all sitting around a table and we're all touching the same cards and playing Jenga and, manipulating the same objects, we're going to have our masks on. We're going to hand sanitize in. We're going to hand sanitize or wash our hands out of that activity, but it doesn't limit us from hanging out together. It just limits us in the protocols of how we're going to be when we're within 6 feet of each other. If we're outdoors, we absolutely can hang out in bigger groups. There are some limitations to how big we can have our groups, but we can get very creative, Jago and I, as counselors in that scenario.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is the best question, the last one, Jago.
About showering?
Nope. Nope.
The water bottle?
It's about water bottles.
Water bottles, love water bottles. Yes, bring your own water bottle for sure. I'd bring a couple, maybe a backup, a spare, because who knows, it might just happen to get misplaced at some point. Again, label it with your name. And yeah, so all about water bottles this year, drinking out of them. We're always constantly asking our kids to drink water. It's a big part. It gets hot during the day. They're running around having so much fun all the time. So it's hydration, drinking 100 waters, whatever that means, but it's funny and they love it. So drinking 100 waters a day, and yeah, just keep hydrated. So yes, please bring a couple of water bottles. Will help.
So when staff leave the cabin, the first thing they say to their campers is, if they're headed to the waterfront, it's you got your bathing suit on, you got your towel, put your sunscreen on. Do you have your water bottle? If you're headed to the upper ball field, do you have your closed-toed shoes on? Have you put your bug spray on? Do you have your water bottle? All campers and all staff are required to have a water bottle in hand with them all day long. We are building touchless water refill stations to replace our water fountains, which oftentimes are the fill stations. But we will we will take away the ability to do a water fountain station and only have refill stations. But yes, hydration nation, that is the key. And it is a very important job for parents to remind their campers to continue to drink throughout the day, because the most common reason that campers go to the infirmary is dehydration.
Yep.
So as much as our staff are trained in the beginning of a period, in the middle of a period, at the end of a period, we take water breaks. We do our best to have them incorporated as part of our lesson. It is definitely a camper's responsibility to stay hydrated as well. So encourage your child to find a water bottle that they like to drink from, one that doesn't heat up, and one that they are going to be excited about carrying around with them. Don't worry about the carrying around part. We do sometimes have campers bring little sling bags, backpacks, if that makes them more comfortable, but oftentimes campers, myself, Jago, we just walk around with our water bottles in hand.
Yep, mine's just broke. I need a new one.
Yeah,
I'm
your
excited to get
Spider-Man one. New Spider-Man one.
I do.
Camp does not provide a shower caddy or any storage in particular. So you definitely want something that you can carry your toiletries from your cabin to a bathhouse. Outdoor shower area is kind of a cool opportunity there that we have at camp. Jago's getting outdoor showers on the Northwood side for the first time. It's pretty exciting. PVC has some outdoor showers. They're very popular. But a shower caddy is essential and encouraged for, doesn't have to be fancy. Storage in the cabins. Typically, cabins have little cubby areas. Campers get delegated a specific section of the cabin. Camp trunk duffels, things like that often fit underneath bunks. But we have campers who will bring in, little plastic 3-drawer things, whatever makes your living arrangements, like a small drawer unit. Yep, exactly like that can be brought in. There's somehow we make it all fit. It's pretty remarkable. We also think obviously we say flashlights, little lanterns, head lanterns are optional. We're finding more and more battery string lights. The counselors have tacks, so we can help you tack them up in your cabin area or your bunk area, but those are quite popular as well.
Yeah, I think we've hit everything on here so far. Yeah, campers shower typically before bed. They can also shower during the rest time, which is their own as well. And then before the bell, sometimes it just depends on comfortable and the camp. But the counselors will let them know typically which times that they can shower. And yeah, so there'll be
Every
plenty
camper has the option to shower every day if they choose to. That's kind of the baseline. And as staff, we enforce showers on the last night so you can pick up your child clean.
Yeah, we always
we're like, you have to go home clean.
You have to shower.
You have to wash that pine needle out of your hair.
No, the lake does not count as a shower. Go shower.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Lake showers is the common. I showered. I had a lake shower. No, that does not count. Will you be having kids regularly hand wash their reusable masks? So that's a great question. What we are looking into is linen bags that all, so we want you to label your reusable masks, please. And we want to have the option to throw them all in a linen bag in that pod. Take them, the staff would turn them into a laundry area in camp, and then they would be returned. The great part about washing them all together is we're washing them in hot water, air drying them, so all those germs are going to be eliminated. Our nurse team has looked into this and has said it's perfectly safe. So yes, to answer your question, if you did 7 washable, reusable masks, that would be an acceptable amount, but we'd like you to have maybe some disposable masks with you as well. And campers bring, yep, I got that one. Wow, these are great questions. Did I miss anybody?
Just the last one. Gina's question. Do they need to bring any money? No.
Oh, money, no. Please don't bring money.
No.
Please don't bring anything valuable.
Yeah, no.
For the love of God, please don't bring anything valuable. We do have a camp safe, so in the event that you're traveling and you needed your child to come with some documents or anything like that, we can absolutely lock things up. That usually applies for our international campers, our campers traveling long distances, which isn't really the case this summer. But all camp store money is already pre-populated on the child's account. In the event that they go through all of that money and they ask the person supervising or running the camp store to reach out to the parent, the business manager will reach out to you and say, this is what your child has spent. This is what they have left. They're interested in putting more money on the account. You can then, with the business manager, apply more money to your child's account, or you can choose not to. It's totally up to you. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you guys coming on and listening to us. This is, as typical, Jago and I talking way longer than normal.
Yep, it happens. Yeah, well, thank you all for coming today on your Sunday and joining us as we discuss our loves and passions of camp. And we're so excited. Yeah.
And if you have other questions, you can email us directly. Feel free. All right. Take care.
Yeah, take
We're
care.
going to be sending you all the information you need real soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.